Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating story. It perfectly illustrates how our brains can just lead us completely astray. We're looking at a crazy incident at a high-end restaurant that completely exposes the massive flaws in human judgment. It's this wild story about snap assumptions, hidden status, and honestly, the shocking speed at which a totally normal professional interaction can just unravel. The way this whole thing unfolds, it is a literal masterclass in why you should absolutely never judge a book by its worn-out cover.
Okay, let's dive into this because this quote is just, wow, it's unbelievable. Imagine walking into an establishment, you just want to sit down, grab a bite, and this is the greeting you receive. "We don't serve trash like you here." I mean, absolutely brutal, right? This waitress looks at a guy who just walked in, zeroes in on his worn work clothes and dirty boots, and bam, she instantly goes on the offensive. She doesn't just ask him to leave. Oh no. She aggressively insults him, assumes he's completely broke, and literally threatens to have security drag him out into the street. It is a breathtakingly fast, fiercely hostile escalation based on absolutely nothing but the fabric of the man's clothing.
And that brings us to Section 1, the vicious hook, and this incredibly shocking welcome. Which leads us perfectly into Section 2, a tale of two customers, where we really get into the dangers of misjudging appearances.
Now, what's really interesting about this contrast is how it exposes the waitress's inherently flawed logic. I mean, look at the sheer polarity of her perception here. It's an incredibly stark contrast. On the left, we've got our man in boots. He's in worn work clothes. So her brain instantly assumes he is deeply impoverished, and she actively labels him trash that needs to be tossed out. But over on the right, we have her wealthy regular. Because he's decked out in designer clothes, she assumes he's a VIP, a very important person who deserves her absolute best service. Here's the kicker, though. She hasn't even spoken to the guy on the left. She hasn't asked if he wants a table, hasn't asked if he can pay. Her brain took exactly one visual cue and equated tattered clothes with complete worthlessness, while equating fancy clothes with immense value. Her entire reality is being dictated by the wardrobe choices of whoever walks through the door.
So let's break down the exact mechanics of her flawed reality. First off, she judges worth entirely by attire. Second, she aggressively refuses service to those she deems poor. Third, she bends over backward to prioritize her VIP regular. And fourth, and honestly, the rich wry irony of this is just wild, she is desperately trying to protect the restaurant's high-end status. I mean, think about the sheer absurdity of this for a second. She is fiercely guarding the gates of this fancy establishment from a guy who, in her mind, is this terrible threat just because he has dirty boots and wants to order some food. She completely believes she's the hero of her own high-end dining story.
But here is the exact moment everything flips. Section 3, the ultimate status reversal, and when the truth comes out.
So, just when the waitress thinks she's perfectly managed the situation, right? She's cleared out the riffraff, she's focusing on her highly valued customer, boom, a secret inspection is exposed. Let's move through the timeline and see how this builds, because this is the rapid-fire destruction of this waitress's entire day. Minute 1. A man enters. The waitress assumed he was just a driver waiting outside. But nope, he's an assistant. And he drops the bomb that the man in the dirty boots is actually the restaurant owner's father, there to conduct a surprise inspection. Minute 2. The waitress is completely panicking, obviously. She tries to pivot, trying to salvage her job by rushing over to serve her favored wealthy VIP, who, by the way, has been acting incredibly rude. And then, minute 3. The devastating final blow. That wealthy designer-wearing VIP is abruptly exposed, right there on the floor, as a criminal credit card fraudster. In 3 quick steps, her perfectly categorized worldview completely, totally shatters.
Just look at the absolute monumental irony we're dealing with here. The quote-unquote trash is actually the ultimate authority, and the VIP, literally the criminal. The waitress spent her entire afternoon fiercely protecting the restaurant from its actual owner, someone with massive authority over her career, while at the exact same time catering hand and foot to a literal fraudster who was actively scamming the establishment. Every single calculation she made based on appearance was 100% backwards.
All right, let's step back for a moment and look at Section 4, the cost of superficiality and its real-world consequences.
Because listen, this isn't just an entertaining story about instant karma. It's a really stark demonstration of how cognitive traps function in our actual everyday professional lives. When we make the same mental leaps this waitress made, we are basically inviting disaster into our own environments.
We can formally define the core theme here as superficial prejudice. That's the act of judging a person's worth, authority, or character based entirely on outward appearances, which, as you can guess, often results in severe miscalculations. This is the real psychological cautionary tale at the heart of our explainer today. When you rely exclusively on superficial prejudice to navigate your interactions, you aren't just being impolite. You're literally blinding yourself to the actual reality of the people in front of you. You're operating on a total delusion.
So the crucial point is perfectly captured right here in these steps, which essentially map out the path to professional ruin. Step 1, making those aggressive snap judgments based purely on attire or surface details. Step 2, acting on that prejudice by mistreating hidden authorities or highly valuable individuals. And step 3, facing immediate, severe professional consequences. Misjudging appearances isn't just a faux pas, it's a massive professional liability. As the story makes crystal clear, the waitress didn't just ruin a customer's afternoon. She completely detonated her own career in a matter of seconds, purely because she trusted a superficial bias over basic human decency.
And that brilliantly illustrates exactly why we need to examine our own cognitive biases. It leaves us with a really critical, lasting thought. Who are you misjudging in your own life? I mean, what hidden status, what true character, or what brilliant potential might you be entirely missing right now, simply because you're looking at the wrong superficial details? It's a powerful question to carry with you. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I highly encourage you to keep questioning the assumptions you make every single day. Keep learning, keep digging deeper, and I will see you next time.